Mrs. Brady, Florence, Henderson. Talk Radio's G. Gordon Liddy and conservative activist Lakita, Garth. And now, the star of Politically Incorrect, Maher.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you very much for that spontaneous outburst. I tell you, this UPS strike is getting ugly. Have you been following this? Have you been waiting for a package? It's getting, but there is a good side to it. Over at the Home Shopping Channel, the stuff is so backed up that their crap is coming back into style. Yes, and President Clinton has a new fundraising problem. Boy, the committee isn't even in session. They have problems with this. Apparently, an Oklahoma Indian tribe was at the White House giving their last dime to him. They gave $100,000 in the hope that land that they gave up like 100 years ago would be receded back to them. And not only that, the real incriminating thing for Clinton is that the Indians kept calling him by his Indian name, Pocahontas. Now, I kid the president. From across the ocean, interesting news. I thought this is a sign of the times. London says they have absolutely run out of cemetery space. You can't die there anymore. They say they have not room for one more corpse, which apparently is why Rod Stewart is always on tour. Kidding, I kid Rod Stewart. Also in London, this is the talk of the British airwaves now. Apparently, Lady Di has a new boyfriend. Have you seen this? He is an Arab playboy named Dodi Fayed, and apparently they say, the press over there says, he is helping her overcome her repressed sexuality. Or as they say in London, getting in touch with your inner Fergie. All right, thanks for coming. It's all been satirized for your protection. Let's meet our panel. She is an entertainer, activist, and a former Miss Black California. Her forthcoming rap CD is called Lakita, Lakita Garth. There she is. Hello, beautiful.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you. Star of stage, screen, and television, she's known worldwide as Mrs. Carol Brady, the very Brady Florence Henderson. Hello, Mrs. Brady. Good to see you. Thank you very much. Author, actor, plumber, and talk radio host. No one else is quite G. Gordon Liddy. Gordon, good to see you. Thank you. And he is the rock music phenomenon who the governor of Oklahoma calls proof that society's moral values continue to crumble. It's a huge CD hit. By the way, this is a great album. Antichrist superstar Marilyn Manson. Hey, man. Thank you. Okay. Well, all right. I'm glad you're all here. We have, of course, a very controversial figure here, Mrs. Brady.
Look out.
I want to protest something.
You want to protest already? I haven't even asked the question.
I know, but I want to protest something. I've seen the promotional material for this show. Now, here you've got a guy who, as far as I know, has never even been busted for being, impersonating a human being or anything. And I've got 9 felonies for which I am totally unrepellent, and he is supposed to be the bad guy. Now, what's going on? Where are standards in this country?
That's a good point. You have been to prison. They have tried to arrest you, but they haven't succeeded.
Right.
Right.
It's the lipstick. If we put some lipstick on him, I think everything will change.
I'd like to see you try. Don't Christian groups need somebody to protest against? Isn't there a symbiotic relationship between whoever they're against, be it you or the gays or whatever, abortion clinics? Don't they need each other?
Or Kathy Lee Gifford, you know.
There's an old saying that the devil has always been the church's best friend because he's kept them in business. And I think, like you're saying, they've picked me to be that. But I don't mind the protesting. I just wish that they would get the facts straight because they think that I do a lot of things. But I'm really about individuality, and that's really the bottom line.
I think you guys have it totally backwards. You guys have it totally backwards. You're saying that the church needs people like Marilyn and other people to stay in business when actually Marilyn wouldn't even exist.
Manson.
Well, Brian, if we really want to get real here, because that's his real name, that's what his mama named him. But the point is that his
do you call
album
him
is
Cassius
called
Clay, too?
Anti-Christ. But he would respond. But you know what? Even the name of his album, Anti-Christ Superstar, if there was no Christ, there would, Christ he needs Christ to stay in business. Because if he's trying to push the envelope against whom? And that's the whole point. I think that when people are talking about
Christ
they show
is
up,
really a metaphor there.
Yeah,
exactly.
but they show up at these concerts and they protest. I think it's a sad commentary when we have put it on the slate that only the Christian right thinks that there's something wrong here. I don't know.
Now, there are rumors about what you do, and then there's the reality of what you do. There are, for example, you do rip pages out of the Bible in your concert. You do wipe your ass with the American flag. Some of these things, you have to admit, are controversial.
Absolutely.
I mean,
they're designed to make people think, but the point with a Bible or a flag is to say it's only as valid as you make it in your heart. A piece of paper,
It's all about perception, isn't it, Marilyn?
a piece of paper or a piece of cloth doesn't mean anything. It's what you believe. And I want people to think about what they believe. I want them to consider if everything they believe is what they want to believe or that's what they've been told that they have to believe.
I agree with that. In the sense, I do agree with that point, in the sense that I have more respect, and some people, you hear me out when you hear this, so I have more respect for this young man than I have for the majority of people in this country. Because 86% of Americans claim to be Christian, Judeo-Christian, whatever else, and they're not. They're hypocrites. But the point is that when I see, it does draw a line in the standard. We need to realize we are in a cultural war, and everyone wants to straddle the fence. Either you are Antichrist or you are Christ. It's as simple as that. Either there are standards or they're not.
In us?
I don't. No, I don't. I don't wipe my rear end with the American flag. And I don't see that giving someone oral sex, giving somebody oral sex on stage. He wants to.
This show, I haven't seen that.
I got to take a break. We'll come back to this. Okay, some of us are old enough to remember what a rock band had to do in former days to upset parents. And it really wasn't very much, right? I mean, the Beatles, when they first came out, had long hair. It wasn't really much longer than yours, Gordon. I'm not kidding. It was not long hair, and they were apoplectic.
Talking about that and how people look and their, perception and the way people look at you and go, my God. But you know what? I look back, seriously, I look back at the early Brady Bunch days. I look like the Antichrist. That hair and the skirts and the platforms, right?
We were over the course of time. Now, in 1956, when Elvis went on Ed Sullivan, they wouldn't show him below the waist. Do you know this? I mean, this was history.
Yeah, I remember it.
Because that would upset, I guess, America. In 1967, Mick Jagger went on with the Rolling Stones. Ed Sullivan couldn't sing Spend the Night Together. He had to change it to Let's Spend Some Time Together. And I think along the way, if you put what the rock groups were prohibited from doing with what kids were doing, there is a difference. I mean, in 1956, when that was what pushed the envelope, the troubles in the school were chewing gum and patting up a skirt. Today, they're throwing babies out with the bathwater, literally. Now, isn't there a connection there?
Well, I think if parents had spent more time trying to censor rock music and art and movies and things like that, and they spent the time teaching their kids to appreciate and understand those things. Right and what's wrong. I think that's more time spent, more valuable.
It's less about Marilyn, but more about the hundreds of thousands of young people. What motivates them to? Ozzy Osbourne in the '70s, he was real big. What motivates them to go out and buy a quote-unquote, so-called demon-possessed young man's album?
But Lakita, more importantly, what possesses him to go out on stage?
No. But see, that's the whole thing. If there were no crowd, if there was no market, he would be out of business. If there weren't people buying his records, making it platinum, and we have to see what's in the psyche of America.
Jordan wants to break in, so to speak.
I want to break in.
Break in.
The drift of this conversation seems to be, at least what I seem to get from you, is a question is Manson and others, are they responsible for the kind of society we have today? And I think that is absolutely backwards. We have a society today without reference to Manson here, in which it is perfectly permitted, and it happens thousands of times, throughout the year, when they take a viable baby from a mother, all the way except for the top of the head, shove a scissors through the base of its skull and suck out its brains, and you're complaining about him.
I'm not complaining about him.
Also,
I like him.
think about this. If you want to blame rock music for things, think about what the Bible's done. What about Heaven's Gate or Jim Jones or the Ku Klux Klan? What they do in the name of Christ?
They totally defy the Bible.
Yeah, but,
the Bible says if you love God and hate your brother, you're a liar and God is not in you. Obviously, you have not read that.
No, I've read the Bible. I'm just saying what people do in the name of the Bible
is a liar and God isn't in him. So, if we're going to quote the Bible, you complain that people take you out of context. Don't take the Bible out of context.
Oh, but
the majority of people
I'm not taking the Bible out of context.
Let alone do it.
He is not taking the Bible out of context. He is taking Friedrich Nietzsche out of context. That's what
But the Bible certainly has been the inspiration for an amazing amount of un-Bible-like activity.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And there's been more un-Bible-like activity. Look at our century. Look at the 20th century. All of the mass murders and killings, more people have been murdered outside of the name of religion than have been in the name of religion in this century. That was just in the New York Times a year ago.
And that's your big claim to fame?
No, it's not. But why does everybody want to put the tag on, the Bible is evil, or we need to question...
No, I'm not saying that. I like the Bible. I'm just saying I don't like the way people misuse it, just as much as people could misuse it.
If you like it, then be the standard and do it. That's the problem.
I like it as a book, just like I like the Cat in the Hat.
Say there's something and they're not. They say there's something and they're not.
Lakita, I'm sorry. Okay, now, turnabout is fair play. We've been talking about Marilyn Manson and his responsibility to society and so forth. Now, you also have a record out. And I have the lyrics to one of your songs, which I think is more irresponsible than anything on one of his records.
Well, shoot, go ahead.
Yes, it talks about condoms. And it says, like the condoms, we sell them, but we won't tell them. It ain't safe, even if you got them. So you're telling kids it ain't...
That's not what it says.
That's what the lyric says.
Don't
you know they got holes? It says, don't you know they got holes you can't see? They might stop a baby, but it hardly stops VD.
That's right. That is correct. Condoms were never prevented. That is correct. You need to do your homework. You check the Centers for Disease Control. You check the Centers for Disease Control. When I testified before the Senate in Washington, D.C., as the Surgeon General, when I testified, it was true. Condoms were never designed to prevent people from getting anything except for pregnant. And we encourage people to use them to stop STDs. There are at least over 50 STDs, counting all the different strains that are out there. 20 of them, at least 20 of them, a condom really can't help you with. Condoms don't care.
How can it stop what stops pregnancy without stopping everything else?
Because the HIV virus is about 450 times smaller than a sperm cell.
And
if
warts?
we magnify that,
What about warts?
that's about the size of a football field, would be the size of
So
one
what you're
sperm
telling
cell
horny
and a football
teenagers is the
size
only
of a
thing that you
football.
can do is be abstinent. And condoms don't work. So kids are not going to use condoms because they're going to listen to you and figure, well, why should we even use condoms? And that is irresponsible.
No,
No
it's not.
sex
It's responsible because I'm
equals
telling them the truth.
No sex
And we haven't
equals
told people
violence?
the
No, but
truth.
you're making an irresponsible
Suppression of
the truth.
sex throughout history that's made people so violent. I think.
No, wait a minute.
That is the
because they have-
You're
stupidest
making
thing
the
I've ever heard.
irresponsible
If you feel guilty, if you're feeling guilty about having
I've
sex,
never known anyone who's
everybody wants to have
who's
sex.
got
The world
pregnant.
is created through sex.
The irresponsible
Yes,
assumption
this is true, and God
the
said
one
be
that you
fruitful and
made is that
multiply.
teenage children are going to have sex no matter what. That's not necessarily true at all.
No, it's not.
Oh, Gordon.
It's not. You know what?
I had a lot of teenage companions when I was a teenager.
Really?
And they were not all running around getting laid.
But he was also in prison, so he's got a little different
Yeah.
outlook.
But I was as good looking as
whatever.
you are.
As far as being responsible, I take full responsibility for every word that I speak when I go out and I
Well-
speak to thousands of young people.
Well, this is going...
And on top of that, I'm encouraging them to do something that is
You
good.
certainly know how to speak, Lakita. Let me tell you
Well,
that.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask
Thank you.
this.
Yeah. Go.
Let me ask you this. If I don't get laid, can I sue her because of her lyrics?
No, because I don't have anything. I don't have for anything you get. But I would invite you to come out and hang with me and some of my friends sometime.
We can do a show together.
I'd like to.
I'm open-minded. I don't protest Sunday schools or anything.
I would love to have dinner and just shoot the
Okay.
breeze with you.
But aren't you,
All right,
Lakita,
today.
aren't you hoping
And then
that
you can
you're...
be with Ted Kennedy one night. I'm sorry.
No, aren't you hoping that your CD makes a lot of money, just like Marilyn hopes that he does? Isn't that what it's about?
No, it's
I'd
not.
rather be with Michael
What is it?
No, it's
Kennedy
not,
than go
because
to the
I've
younger
turned
lady.
down more jobs than I've turned down more jobs than I've ever worked because of I will not expose my body, or I won't use foul language, or I won't spread my legs for just any old Joe that comes around. I have a standard that I live up to. And, you know, I'm very frank. I'm up front. I'm very honest about what I believe.
I hope that you will always be able to live like that.
Well, you know what? I think we should encourage other
I
young
hope you
people
don't
to
have
do that
many
as well.
challenges in life.
Okay.
I have very many challenges in
Do
life.
you?
Yes, and I would like to come. I'd like for you to come to dinner with me and
No, I
learn
think
what
it's
the challenges are
admirable
that I
to be.
face.
It's very
And you can pick
admirable
up
to
the
be
tab.
idealistic. You know, but I want people to think, but I'm not trying to think I can save the world. You know, maybe the
You
world doesn't
can't save the
deserve
world
to be
'cause you're
saved.
not Christ.
Maybe they only deserve to be
Oh,
entertained
now, wait
before
a
they're all
second.
destroyed.
You can't judge
couldn't
who's
agree
Christ
more.
and who isn't.
And
He may have more Christ in him than you do. You can't really say that.
You will know a tree.
And that's from Mrs. Brady.
You will know a tree.
All right, we got to
by
take a break.
motor.
We'll be right back.
He had 12 disciples. That could have been his posse, for all we know.
And people
He
were
hung out.
against
He
him.
hung out with hookers.
But
He
being
drank.
like Christ
People
is
were
different
against
than
him.
being
And they
Christ.
killed him.
And they killed him.
But
And
being
that's what-
like Christ is different than being Christ.
No, I'm just
They
saying have a
killed him because
And I
perspective.
said,
Reform rabbi
you're
in
not
Israel.
Christ.
That's why
Just
they
like
killed
you're
him.
not Hitler,
Well, I don't
you're
wanna
not
be Christ.
Genghis Khan, and you're not anyone who's lived and is no longer here on this planet. And so, you know, if we're gonna look at what people said, I
What
didn't
about
say that you
Elvis?
weren't like Christ, but you will know. Definitely not Elvis, because you know you don't swing your hips like he does. But
You
anyway,
haven't seen me.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what I've seen. You'd be surprised at what I've seen.
Mrs. Brady, I think we've made a love connection.
I think it's on.
You know, we're going to the prom together.
Yeah.
So this is what's interesting here, and this is something I've always wanted to ask you, Marilyn.
Okay.
And since I'm-
Manson.
No, he
Whichever
likes
you
to
like.
Brian, okay, whatever.
For the ladies.
Whatever. And since we're on national television, I want to ask you,
Okay.
what standards do you have, and where do you draw the line? What is good and what is evil?
I have basic principles that kind of exist in all religions,
Such
even
as?
Christianity.
Such as?
Well, the fundamentals, you know, you don't kill people, you know, a basic good person.
Okay, so
Probably
you
the
belong,
same as yours.
Do you? No, they're not the same. Minister of the, of the Church of Satan.
I'm not a minister of anything.
Okay, because I don't know. Rolling Stone, I've heard that you were into the Church of Satan. I assume that you read the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey.
I read both Bibles.
Okay.
Christian Bible too.
Right. Okay, and we know that the Bible has 10 commandments, not 10 suggestions.
Right.
And there's one commandment in the Book of Satan. What is that commandment?
I don't know. I don't preach.
Kill Lakita Garth.
You don't? They would like.
Principles like
forget.
anybody else
What
would.
people don't see is that when you're a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old and you enunciates what you're feeling, do you remember what you felt like at that age? I do.